All right, we're back with another episode of the Sports Talk with Duey podcast, man. I can't believe we're sitting here right now. We're at 4-0. This is like, I've never seen Pitt go this far at being undefeated in our life, and that is true. I don't think Pitt's been 4-0 since like, what year is it?
Like
2000?
2000.
2000, yeah. So we none of us were even alive, so that's why I don't remember. But I can't believe we're sitting here winning 2 rivalry games. We have a legitimate offense and a legitimate quarterback. Man, life is good. Pitt basketball starting up. Derek Dixon, what the heck, man? But overall, life is really good as a Pitt fan right now. So let's get this started. I'm gonna start this podcast by looking at the guy in the headphones, Tony Roble. Tone, all summer, man, you were just saying like I'm pessimistic, like I have no confidence in this team, like we're probably gonna suck. You even said at some points is like I might not even like care that much anymore. So Tone, what has changed your mind about this team?
One guy in particular. Okay, so yeah, one guy in particular, and his name is Eli Holstein. For him to come in and play like this brand of football, like maybe on par with Kenny Pickett, if not maybe even better. Like he has been lights out these first 4 games, especially in the clutch. When we were down to Cincinnati 27-6, I was like, here we go again. This might be, back to Pitt football and last year. But then he turns it on. We scored three touchdowns in the fourth quarter and win the game. And I was like, this might be different. And then when we beat West Virginia in the same fashion the following week, I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going into the season, like, I don't know. I just felt like I don't know. It's just like coming off a 3-9 season, like I just did not feel good at all about the team. And I just didn't recognize that, Des Reed was this good, Eli Holstein was this good. But yeah, I mean, I was gonna watch all the games. Like, let's not go there, like say I wasn't gonna care. But I was definitely pessimistic. But they proved me wrong, and I'm glad they proved me wrong. Let's go, Pitt.
Yeah, I mean, had to make a change on the offense. I mean, we have a really modern offense now, and I think a reason why people are down the team because wasn't that many familiar names. Like most of the ACC championship players left, and there had to be some younger guys step up, which we've seen, which we'll get into. But it's pretty awesome. All the younger recruiting class, those players are stepping up now. It's really cool to see this modern offense with Cade Bell. It's amazing. So. You guys want to start off? Talk about the Cincinnati game?
I'll start off. My goodness, I was there. I was mad that I was there because it was just horrible. I was going on Twitter on a complete, I don't even know what I was doing. I don't even know. I was just going off. I felt bad. I'm like, you know what? This is going to backfire on me. And sure enough, it did. Eli Holstein turned it on in the fourth quarter. Unbelievable game. What a comeback. I'm still high from that game, honestly. Like, it was amazing. Desmond Reed, legacy game right there. Okay, now there's some concerning points, obviously. The defense shaky, the offense shaky for the first 3 quarters. But after that, it was beautiful. We stepped up on both sides of the ball, and I was so happy about it.
I think tones up. Yep.
Yeah, so kind of the same thing. Like we went down 27-6. Like what was going through my mind is, here we go, same old Pitt football, back to 2023. But then, we got Mumpfield had a few huge catches, including that one touchdown that was a beautiful pass from Holstein. You got Des Reed taking that like angle route to the house, and he's like, Des Reed is one of my favorite players in the offense besides Holstein. Just because the way he can shift, like his shiftiness, it reminds me of Tariq Cohen, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't know, there was like when we won that game, you could just feel like things were starting to change, and then when we got to WVU, I mean, I guess we're talking about Cincinnati, so we're not there yet. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like, it's just one of those games where it doesn't feel like you won, but they pulled it off, and you could just sort of sense that the tides were starting to change with this program.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree with what both of you guys said. The reality is, like, the first half was extremely bleak. Our defense was back to, before we had, last couple of years, we've been really blessed to have all these guys in the secondary, like MJ Devonshire, Marquez Williams, AJ Woods was even pretty good the last couple, the last year. Like overall, he was someone who I talked a lot of trash about, but like compared to how our corners looked in the first half of Cincy, it was like night and day. You know what I mean? Like it was not good. It did not inspire confidence. The reality is, I think a lot of people talk about how good the offense played in the second half of that Cincy game. I think a lot of the credit needs to go to that defense too for really standing on their head. Because Cincinnati, like they scored 10 points really early on in the third quarter. They were completely shut down for the rest of the second half. I thought Sorsby, like he had 298 yards and 3 touchdowns. I feel like that stat line doesn't really reflect well on how he looked. I don't think he threw a lot of bad passes, especially those last couple, like down the stretch. He was like our exotic blitzes that we brought, like kind of forced him into making bad decisions. And we got the stops that we needed. We needed like 3 or 4 stops in order to get back in the game, and that's what we got. So it was incredible, and it was a huge switch because I was like, why did I book all this stuff to go to the WVU game if we're just gonna be terrible again? Then all of a sudden it's like, boom, like I have confidence now, and I was excited. So I was over the moon for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that we said. I think the secondary is the group that definitely switched it over in that second half. In the first half, Gandy gets toasted. Battle has 2 PIs. Like Sorsby, you said he had 300 yards. I'm pretty sure like 200 were just him looking at whoever Gandy was covering and just going directly at Gandy. But he's improved in like the secondary in the second half. After giving up that last touchdown, on that seam right through the safeties, they kind of locked in. I mean, it's your Narduzzi defense. You're putting these corners on islands. You're asking them to do to win you games single-handedly. But when the blitzes get there and you start hitting the quarterback, I mean, some of those plays at the end of the game when they were getting stops, Sorsby was just worried about the blitzes and getting the ball out and overshooting guys. And it's just a testament to Narduzzi's defense that has shown success, especially in that 2021 season. And then even now making its ways to the NFL. I mean, Brian Flores uses it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you guys nailed it on all fronts, but I'll give my take on it. Yeah, I mean, we were terrible in the first, what was it? The first, round, the whole fourth quarter we were amazing, but the first 45 were terrible. But yeah, talking about, the secondary, if there's so many examples of Narduzzi defenses. Like when we made the championship in 2018, our defense was awful to start the season. But then, the end of the season, that defense was awesome with, the corners looked terrible with, Pinnock and Mathis and Dane Jackson. But those guys really started playing super well. And then the ACC championship team, our defense was terrible. We got shredded by Western Michigan. But then our defense usually new Narduzzi defenses with a lot of younger players, they struggle at first, but then they'll really come on. This defense is going to be super good. Well, I'm going to talk about the defensive line later, but I think this defense will get better as the season goes on because Narduzzi's defense is super hard to play in. But I've been super happy how well they've played in the fourth quarter because college football, it's all about who scores the most points and who gets the most crucial stops. In the Cincinnati and the WVU game, we've gotten the big stops, but I mean, that Cincinnati game, the standouts for me was, of course, Holstein, Desmond Reed, like you guys said, but Kanata Mumfield was a beast in that game. Some of the routes, that route he ran on the first touchdown where, he, in, out, that was nasty.
Beautiful.
We didn't even use him. We didn't even use him the last 2 years because Signetti was so bad. It's so nice being able to actually maximize the potential of our weapons. Even though we haven't really got Bartholomew much work, I don't understand that. But I'm happy to see what Mumfield's been doing. And on the defense, Rasheem Biles has honestly been amazing. He was amazing at Cincinnati game. He had the big sack in that game. And then Isaiah Neal in the Cincinnati game was fantastic, holding up the defensive line. So that game was an absolute miracle. Watching it, I was like, how are we down this much? I feel like they're not this much better than us. And I just kept watching. I never, usually games you kind of oh, this is over, but I never really had that feeling. I didn't think we were going to win, but I thought we could make it close, and man, there it is. Our defense got the stops. Daddy had no idea what to do with Desmond Reed, and we were 2-0. So, anything else anyone wants to say before we move on to the backyard brawl?
Real quick, just what a clutch kicker Ben Sauls is. I mean, I think he's the best
we didn't
kicker.
talk about that.
I think he's the best kicker in college football right now. It's nice to have a consistent kicker for once.
Oh,
Yeah. watching Kessman all those years was painful. He was freaking terrible. I hate him.
Yeah.
I'll say it right now. I hate Alex Kessman.
It's pretty crazy. Like, I don't know, just in general, I feel like kickers have drastically improved over the last couple of years. Just watching like NFL and college this year, like you see guys like Brandon Aubrey, like he goes out there 58 yards is basically automatic for him.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
Sauls was kind of like that. Like you go out, he goes out and kicks a 50+ yarder, and it's not even a second thought. Like it's crazy to me that kicking has become like the kickers have just become that good. And I think Ben Sauls is like it's really valuable to have someone like that on your team.
Yeah, Sauls. Maybe he'll be kicking on Sundays. He's that good.
I think he,
like
I
Tim
think he
said.
will.
Yeah.
for sure.
He's definitely
I think he
kicking on
will.
Sundays.
And
Let's move on. Oh, Tony, you gonna say something? Sorry.
I just want to add one more thing
Yeah,
about
sure.
Hinata Mumfield. So you talked about his route on his first touchdown. Did you see his route on the second touchdown? Like it was just like a kind of a post, or it was like a corner, and he just like on his cut to like break to like the pylon. Oh man, it was crispy. Like the defender was just lost, and he was wide open. Like it was.
That's what I was trying to tell you about Bub Means, Tone. Like, we were not even utilizing any of our weapons the last 2 years. That's how good Bub Means is to get to the NFL when you have frickin' Kadon Slovis and Turkovic. Like, that's how, like, Bub Means, like, I would like to see what he would do in college with a real quarterback. Now we're getting to see Mumfield, so it feels nice having a real offense. We'll probably talk about this the whole show, having a real offense now.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to unbelievable. My first question is was this game better than 2 years ago, the backyard brawl?
It was similar in most aspects, honestly. Like we were down, we had to make a comeback. And at the end of the day, their fans went home upset and crying and all that. So yeah, I would say it was quite similar. This one was a little more intense in my opinion. We had to come back down 10, and it was and we had to do it very quick. We were down 10, right? Was that?
Yep.
Okay,
10
yeah,
points,
down
like
10.
3 minutes left.
Yep. We had to do it quick. Holstein threw a complete, what a dot that was to get us closer. Yeah, I'd say this one was way more emotional. It felt beautiful at the end, and it was just an unbelievable day. I mean, the day itself was like a movie, honestly. I mean, all these people down there, the stadium's loud, it's rocking, and Pitt comes home with a victory. It was pure bliss. It really was.
I'm gonna say this is gonna be my answer. I'm gonna say the game itself. I think the game itself was better this time around, but the atmosphere 2 years ago was better.
Yeah, it was for sure. There was only 66,000 at this game.
Yeah, and like 2 years ago, the stadium was packed. Like, and the crowd after the pick six was nothing like I've ever seen or heard, and I don't know if I'll ever see or hear something like that again. That was incredible. But this game, like, to be down 10 and make that sort of a comeback with 3 minutes left and just absolutely shatter the hearts of WVU fans. Oh man, it was beautiful. Just like the Hail Mary I kind of want to call it a Hail Mary to Dejan. Like for him to come up with that and then for you to get the ball back and then Eli Holstein to do the same thing he did the week before. It just like Tim said, like I think there was just a lot more intensity in this comeback and in this game, especially down the stretch than there was 2 years ago. And it was sort of back and forth, but you still like felt kind of confident that we were going to win. There were times where you're like, this game, you were like, we might lose. But then we didn't, thankfully. But yeah, I think better game, but the atmosphere was a little bit less than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, Tony, I think that's like a perfect way to put it. Like the game itself on the field was, I think, more entertaining than it was 2 years ago. They were very similar games, like very back and forth, very similar score lines. I think it was like 38-31 2 years ago, and this year's 38-34. Like, and the game followed a very similar pattern. Like West Virginia's leading down the stretch. We get a couple of scores to come back and win the game. Very similar like storylines, but the atmosphere just wasn't what you like. Duey texted me mid-game. He was like, this just doesn't really feel like a backyard brawl type game. Like the atmosphere was kind of low. Maybe that's a like byproduct of me and him. I was with my dad sitting in a section with mostly WVU fans on their side of the field. Maybe they were just low energy to begin with because, you know, they're West Virginia fans, but that's like, I don't know. It was weird. And then the comeback that might have been like the best. I've been to a lot of great Pitt moments. The game 2 years ago, the game against Mississippi State in the first 4, like this West Virginia game was up there with those. I really don't know how I can possibly rank it, but just the feeling after we won 2 is incredible. And I want to shout out the people who, when it was like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter when West Virginia scored that touchdown, my buddy C. Mello and my buddy Jack, why are you guys leaving the game?
Yep.
Like, come on, stay
Yeah,
to the
people
end
were
of the
filing
game.
out.
I don't care about your stupid rave, Jack. You're staying to the end of the game.
That's
Like,
right.
you're a Pitt fan. You're a Pitt student. Come on. That's just unacceptable.
That's what I'm saying. Lock the gates. Don't let them out. Unless you
That's
have a
right.
real excuse. If you're passing out or something, you can't leave.
Even
Or
you're
let's-
passing out. I was passing out. I was about to pass out before when Pitt ran out of the field at the first game, like the West Virginia game 2 years ago. I was like about to pass out, honestly, with how loud I was screaming. I stayed there. I didn't go get water. Like, come on.
The fish.
Or if you're wearing the
Wow.
WV, you can let them out.
That was passionate.
Yeah, that
was very
too.
You
passionate.
can let them out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest parallel between the two games was we had 2 number 12s that had an interception, a big part of the game. Cruz Brookins, that interception was huge to keep us in the first half. I mean, we can talk about Cade Bell's like weird play calls. I think he just tries to do too much. I think Cade Bell's offense by itself is one of the most dynamic in college football. We don't need to be trying to run double reverse passes, flea flickers, and that weird 4th and 1 call. But yeah, I mean, I think you guys hit it all on the nail of the head. Like, I was in there earlier. Like, the environment in the student section was still there, but I don't know if it translated as well watching the highlights. I think the block punt was the loudest that the stadium got, but it was nowhere near the Pitt 6. But no, I think after the game was a lot cooler. I remember in 2022, like a few players jumped in the stands, but like Desmond Reed jumped in the DJ booth. Kyle Lewis was like in front of me with like all the D linemen. I think this year, like the players are putting more of an emphasis on keeping the students there, keeping them involved, and I think that's a great development and keeping guys there till the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was texting the fish. I was a little like disappointed. Like, Ian, did you think you guys were loud before the fourth quarter? It didn't really seem like it to me.
I mean, I think how that game went, they were louder after that missed offensive pass interference where Gandy gets like his face mask ripped off.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
that was terrible.
people were throwing stuff, and I mean, like, I get that you're frustrated, but like, we can't be throwing stuff on the field. And like, someone like threw a water bottle and like hit a cameraman. Like, it was like some scary stuff. But I think it got really loud. I think for that Dejon Reynolds touchdown, I think the joint the noise was not really there because no one thought he caught it. Like, we were on the other side of it. You see,
I was right there.
you see a guy throw a ball into triple coverage, and you don't expect Holstein to complete that pass. So I think, and there was a lot of like, once that happened and the defense went out, I think like people slowly started to like think it was happening. Once they caught that ball, I was like, yeah, we're winning this game. Like, that just doesn't happen. Also, coming back from Cincinnati, like, I was like pretty confident in Pitt coming back, but that really wasn't shared throughout the student section, I don't think, because, I mean, we've all seen some of like the most heartbreaking losses by Pitt in our entire lives. They don't do that. They don't come back. So a lot of people that like were there kind of gave up, but yeah, I don't think it was the same as 2022, but I think if Pitt keeps winning, we're gonna start selling out, and it'll be a magical end of 2024.
Yeah, so I'll give my thoughts on the game. I mean, I thought it was a really like classic like backyard brawl type game. Like, no one really had the momentum, kept going back and forth. Like, we got the momentum after the block kick by Gracio, and George recovers it and runs it in. I thought after that we're in pretty good shape, and then like WVU stormed right back. That call was just awful. I mean, like, literally that receiver's hand was in. Like, how was Gandy had pretty good coverage regarding?
Terrible.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
awful.
awful.
I didn't really see it.
All the WVU fans around me were like, oh, they're holding on every play. There's penalties on Pitt on every play. Doesn't matter. Like, you can't grab the defender's face mask when you're going up for a ball. Like,
No.
just because maybe they didn't call a couple penalties on us doesn't mean that they're not allowed to call any penalties on you. That's not how it works.
Yeah, two of
not
my favorite football
to be,
teams
like,
have gotten
pulled down.
screwed over by face masks recently. Like, I guess we're not talking about NFL football, so I'm sorry
Yeah.
about that. But yeah, I mean, I think we're lucky that West Virginia has Neil Brown as their coach. He's an idiot, just like all their fans and
That's
their
right.
older students. He probably can't read either. And we're also lucky how trash WVU secondary is. Oh my God! Like when we scored that touchdown, I was like, you know what? If we can get a stop, we have a chance. And when we got the ball back, I had no doubt in my mind we're gonna go right down the field and score. WVU secondary is so trash. Oh my God, they are trash. And my friend Danny kept telling me, like, yeah, you guys are fine. Like, our secondary's trash. He wasn't kidding. Oh my God, they just let us go right down the field. And regarding, some standouts in that game, my boy Donovan McMillan, unbelievable, made every tackle. He's the GOAT. Of course, Holstein. I was kind of frustrated. We could not run the ball for some reason in that
No,
game.
we
It was
couldn't run the
super
ball.
frustrating. Like,
Mm.
I feel like more coaches need to realize when something's not working, just screw running the ball and just pass every down. Like, it was a little frustrating. And Ian, you're right. Like, the trick plays, I feel like his offense is awesome, but like none of these trick plays ever work. It's really weird. But like overall, like holy cow, what a win! I feel like 2 years ago, I think our odds were pretty good to win the game. I know Slobus took us down, we were down by 7, and then they had the ball. But this one, like we were against all odds. Like we were very close to losing. So I feel like the atmosphere for that game, coming off of the ACC season, like first time we played in the WVU in a long time. That first game of the season, the atmosphere is unbelievable compared to this one, which is a 3:30 start. But this was just magical. Like there's nothing like seeing those cocky hillbillies go home sad. Like it was amazing seeing them leave. Like we're gonna beat you in basketball too. We own you guys. It was amazing.
Mhm.
So I love Pitt. I hate West Virginia.
There's one thing I wanted to add on when Pitt went down 10, they made a switch at left guard. They subbed out Jacoby for Jason Collier, and they went down and scored those next 3 possessions. And then Jacoby didn't play against Youngstown State. So we'll see coming out probably on Monday with the depth chart what they want to do with that left guard spot.
I think Jacoby's still banged up, probably.
Yeah, I mean, they said in the press conference that it was because Jacoby was hurt, and then I don't think they didn't play Reed, even though it was announced a starter against Youngstown State. So we'll see what they decide to do against
Yeah,
North Carolina. But I think
yeah.
the bye is going to be good to get everyone healthy, and we'll see.
So yeah, I mean, is there much to even talk about the Youngstown State game other than
73 points.
yeah? I mean, the only surprising thing was I guess they rested Desmond Reed kind of for that game, and like Daniel Carter went off, which was nice to see. But I mean, there's really not much to say about that. We just like got the job done. We kicked their butt.
Yep. No
If
messing
Daniel-
around.
Yeah.
I
If
just have
Daniel
one
Carter's-
question about that game that I want to pose to the group. So who's running back 2 now? Because Derek Davis, this was supposed to be his game to get him going. I mean, he's still under 3 yards per carry. And Daniel Carter, he looks slimmer. I mean, he's been here forever, but is that enough for you guys to name him the RB2 over Derek Davis?
I
It
don't
is
think you
for
can
me.
put much stock into what happened in this game. It's Youngstown State, you know what I mean? Like, take this with a grain of salt because I'm kind of a big Daniel Carter hater, just because, I don't know. I feel like we've used him too much the last couple of years in non-goal line packages where it's like, what's Signetti, I guess, but it's like,
Yep.
I don't know. We're playing Youngstown State. Maybe you put him as the running back too, but I'm totally fine with sticking with Davis there. I don't know.
He did
Yeah,
lose
hear me
about
out
20
here.
pounds.
Derek Davis scored the game-winning touchdown against WVU. He can keep the RB2 job for now. And he's also a local kid. He's from Gateway.
Yeah,
So-
crazy story.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Derek Davis he's been all right so far. I mean, Daniel Carter's fantastic. And how about Che Nubako? I mean, he's super fast. Like, I would like to see him using him in jet sweeps and stuff. So it's good to see us have some depth at running back after. Reed's the smallest guy, so we definitely need it.
second.
So yeah, I mean, I like Daniel Carter. He's been here for a long time. It's cool to see. It's cool to see us having running back depth. And I guess we could use these guys at different circumstances. But yeah, overall, it doesn't really matter to me who's the running back too. So
No, I just don't understand the Che position change. You can't have him in there to block. And I mean, I think you could use him as like a gadget slot receiver, but we have like 8 of those guys on the roster.
I mean, I guess that it makes sense that he's a running back now, though, right? Because the wide receiver room is just super crowded as it is with a bunch of guys, like even the lower down on the depth chart, like CJ Lee, Zion Fowler, guys like that, like who aren't going to get playing time. Normally, what's his face? Shea is probably be lower than them on the depth chart. So I'm fine with having him at running back, but it's like there's going to be very specific, like he's almost exclusively a third down back. So it's like if he's going to get playing time, that's the circumstances they're going to be in.
Yeah, but you'd rather have Reed as that third down back because he's so explosive. So it's like where he doesn't really fit anywhere.
I mean, he's low enough in the depth chart where it doesn't particularly matter too much. But yeah.
And what's with Hammond? Like, can he play next year?
Good question. I don't know.
I don't think you'd get a year of eligibility back for failing classes.
I think he was gambling.
I don't know.
We established what it is.
I've asked everyone on the football team. They said it was like school related. Like that's what they were told.
Okay.
But I mean,
I've heard otherwise.
Well, technically, he does. I don't think. I think he still has his redshirt year, so maybe he could use it. I don't know.
Yeah, can he technically redshirt this year?
Yeah, kind of a complicated situation.
All right, so I was gonna ask Tim about like the coaching because he always rips on Narduzzi, but obviously can't. So like after this non-conference schedule, like what's your overall feelings about the team heading into ACC play?
Pretty good, I'd say. Especially since we got those huge wins over WVU and Cincinnati. Now, granted, the Big 12 isn't like that good overall as a conference, but just kind of let me look at the schedule. I know obviously we have UNC
then
the next week, then Cal. I think we can win that game. Like our schedule, we're not playing Miami during the regular season. Like we're not playing number 7 Miami, which they shouldn't be number 7. They shouldn't be number 7 after last night. That's a whole another thing. But let's see here. Yeah, we have UNC. I feel pretty good about our chances in this upcoming game. I mean, James Madison put up 70 on them. Come on. We should beat UNC. We should beat Cal. Syracuse will be interesting. I think that'll be a pretty good game. I'm a Kyle McCord fan, so I think he's a good quarterback. He could give us a bit of trouble. SMU will be interesting. We should beat Virginia. The 2 games to watch, I think, are really Clemson and Louisville. Those are going to be tough games.
Same with Boston College, too.
Yeah, Boston College is also good. They have, what, Bill O'Brien?
Yep. I think Confiance is actually injured now.
He's out.
He
is.
Yeah, they're starting their backup, but they're playing Western Kentucky, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I think, like, most of these games I feel like we could definitely win. So I was pessimistic to start the season, but now I'm, like, feeling pretty optimistic about our chances going forward. I like the makeup of our team, and I think we can be a contender for the ACC. I'll say it.
Yeah, I agree that I'm cautiously optimistic moving forward. Literally every game on our schedule is a winnable game. I don't see one game on the schedule that I'm like, okay, yeah, we're 100% going to lose. Our ACC schedule, every game we have potential to win. That being said, every game is a potential for a letdown game, right? And in a conference like the ACC with so many teams, and where or if you're really good and you end up like maybe 6-2 might not even be good enough to make the ACC championship because there are going to be so many other teams with that record, you have to like win as many games as you can in conference play. I think we probably will have to go 7-1 or 8-0 in ACC play in order to make the conference championship just because of how many teams there are and how close the standings are going to be. It's tough because you look at like, okay, maybe the next week against UNC, like they obviously let up 70 against JMU, and we're probably going to score a lot of points against them with our offense. But if you look at how we played in stretches for the WVU game and the Cincinnati game, the cynical part of me says, what if we play like that for an entire game, even against one of these like worst teams on our schedule? Then we just have a terrible letdown game that could ruin our momentum and ruin the season. So that's like, I'm optimistic. I like how we look in these non-conference games. I love that we're 4-0, but I also feel like there's, especially the fact that we're Pitt, there's a lot of potential for letdown games on the schedule, and I don't want to go all in and say we're going to be in the ACC championship and contention for a playoff spot when the reality is we have the entire ACC schedule in front of us.
I agree with you in some aspects. So we're in uncharted territory. We're 4-0 in non-conference play. Hasn't happened before. We haven't played the only game that we played a complete game for 60 minutes is a Youngstown State game, and we're not putting much stock in that game. It was whatever. So if Pitt can start to put together full games, I don't think we lose to any of these teams. We'll know a lot more about the team after they play North Carolina, because even though they gave up 71 points, they still scored 50. And we talked about the secondary with the question marks, and if the pass rush can't get home, then it's going to be a long game. But, I mean, we'll see if Louisville's for real playing Notre Dame. I mean, Clemson has a tough schedule before, but I like our chances up to go undefeated up until that Clemson game. And I think it's unfair to say that we're due for a Pitt letdown, because it's mostly a whole new offense. It's a new offensive coordinator. I think we're kind of scarred into thinking what we've seen before with Pitt, and I'm trying to be optimistic and think of each team as a different team. So I'm optimistic. Hopefully we're undefeated. Looking at game day on November 16th against Clemson.
That would be beautiful.
Could you imagine the stadium?
Oh my gosh.
Game day's not gonna come.
Yeah, I know. There'd be a 2-loss SEC teams, and they'd go there.
Yeah, okay, Ian, I appreciate your optimism, and I get your mindset too, but even in that mindset, just looking at this year's games, Cincinnati and West Virginia, there were long stretches of play in those games where we didn't play well. So those need to get ironed out. That's the reality of the situation. If we can play complete games throughout the season, good, but there's also a lot of potential for this team specifically to be let down because of those games. I don't want to be, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here. I don't want this to happen, obviously, but it's we kind of have to look at it.
I definitely agree, but we're still in we're 4 games into a complete new offense. In the Cincy game, we were dead for 3.5 quarters, pretty much. In West Virginia, we were dead for a quarter. So I think there's definitely improvements. And I just am more confident because Eli Holstein can easily go down as the second best Pitt quarterback if he finishes the season close to what Kenny Pickett's Heisman season was. He's on pace to do that season over again as a redshirt freshman. And I'm not gonna I don't want to sit here and do the stupid NIL stuff. Those are the worst type of fans in college football. It's there are people in the student section that are Eli Holstein's good, but are we gonna be able to pay him? It's we have 8 games, we were potentially undefeated, and you're worried about the offseason. People need to chill out with the transfer portal. Yeah. We bought him a $100,000 truck on Thursday. He's getting this bag from Alliance 412, and we're going to be competitive this year and see where it leads us.
I saw a stat line on Twitter, someone comparing Eli Holstein's first 4 games to Jameis Winston's first 4 games in his Florida State freshman year that they won the national title, and they were very similar, which is really interesting because obviously Jameis won the Heisman that year, I think, right? He did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and then won the Natty. So Florida State was just barreling through teams that year first us, and that was not fun. But if Eli Holstein can play like Jameis Winston the whole season, then look out, man. Geez Louise, that'd be a dream come true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super happy with where we're at. I mean, with before the season, I was kind of worried how tough our schedule is down the stretch. So I really wanted this team to get off to a fast start, and man, that's what they've done. Even though we could easily be 2-2 right now, but we're not. But overall, I mean, Holstein's fantastic. People making fun of me, but he does play a lot. He has a lot of similarities to Patrick Mahomes. I don't even care I'm saying that. How he moves around the pocket. He has such awareness of the pass rush. He's honestly a magician. It's so fun to watch some of the throws he's making, outside the numbers, over the middle. I'm just super impressed how mobile he is, and he gets the ball out. He's just such a smart quarterback. It's awesome to watch. Yeah, I mean, he escapes someone I know, Eli Manning did, and Big Ben too. So I shouldn't be comparing him to Hall of Fame quarterbacks. That's kind of ridiculous. But how he's moving around the pocket is so much fun to watch, and it's awesome how he's extending plays. And Desmond Reed, hopefully, he's healthy. The weapons have been great. I'm a little worried about the defensive line. I don't think there's a lot. The opposing offensive lines are kind of creating gaping holes for the other teams. We're not getting enough pass rush, and we're gonna need that pass rush when we're playing against elite quarterbacks like McCord and I guess Klubnik as well. So, and if we want to beat these teams, you need the pass rush, and our defensive line needs to play better, in my opinion. I don't think they're getting enough pass rush, and the secondary is honestly getting much better. I think Rashad Bow's been really good. I mean, people need to remember he's been hurt for the last 2 years, so he needs to. But overall, like, the secondary is going to be fine, and I think that we're seeing the reason why we've lost. We're seeing the difference Charlie Partridge has made. Our defensive lines were so amazing, and I feel like it could definitely be better. We need more pass rush, and yeah, I mean, I'm super happy. So let's move on. We're kind of already talking about it, but who are some standouts for you guys in the first 4 games?
Well, I think the easy answer is Eli Holstein. I think didn't he win ACC Offensive Rookie of the Week all 4 weeks? So yeah, that's insane. Like all 4 weeks is crazy. Des Reed, I think he's been great. Donovan McMillan, Peters Township kid, making all those tackles in the secondary. Like he is, you see him everywhere on the field. He's always making a tackle. Guess who else? Kanata Mumpfield. I mean, I think he's been phenomenal to start. I guess those would be. I guess I probably have studied the offense more than the defense, but I would say those are definitely 4 guys that have stood out to me so far.
Yeah, so since you went kind of an offensive route, I'll talk about more of the defensive players. I think, like, Dewey talked a little bit about the defensive line and the secondary. The linebacking group is definitely, like, by far the best sort of room in that defense, and I think that's a big part of that is the 2 guys who have really jumped on the scene in Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles. Kyle Lewis is just, like, he's all over the place. He's involved in basically every play, it seems like. He has several, I don't know exactly, I mean, he had, I think 2 interceptions this year. Yeah, I think that leads the team actually as a linebacker. So that's like pretty crazy. And then honestly, I think Rasheem Biles I like him even more than Kyle Lewis. He's flying all over the place too. He leads the team in sacks, tied with Nate Matlack with 3, 32 total tackles. That's only behind Donnie. It's like I guess it's behind Kyle Lewis too. But it's like both of those guys whenever they're sharks, man. It's great. It's really cool to see. How much they're eating so far this year. And I think the defensive line, like you said, Dewey, they're kind of not getting enough pressure at times, but I also feel like there's a lot of untapped potential in a lot of those players. Nate Matlack, he was the transfer from Kansas State, if I remember correctly, right? So, like, he has experience, and it's like it's showing off. Again, he tied for the team lead in sack. But I think Sincere Edwards has also been someone who's stood out to me, just like has been applying a lot of pressure. The other guys like Jimmy Scott and Richie James, Isaiah Neal, who have gotten some playing time, have shown me that there is untapped potential there. And of course, if Partridge was still around, that would be great because I feel like that potential could be realized. I hope this coaching staff can get that same sort of out of them as the season goes on because there's clearly a lot of talent there.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about him earlier, but I think Cruz Brookins is been the most exciting player for me on the defense. I mean, he came into camp in a deep safety room with McMillan, PJ O'Brien. I'm missing someone.
Javon.
Yeah. And I think, I was listening, through camp, and, Cruz Brookins was getting talked about by, every coach on the defensive side of the ball, even the offensive side of the ball. He was picking off players in camp, and you're trying to figure out where this guy, finds playing time in a deep, older safety room. And I think he's such a hard-hitting safety. He plays in the box well. He's got good ball skills. And I think we've seen, PJ O'Brien kind of have some hiccups in coverage. And I just think, every week, Cruz Brookins is hitting people hard, making defensive breakups. And I think as we get into ACC play, we'll see his snap count go up and he'll eventually, by the end of the season, probably be the starting safety next to McMillan.
Yeah, I mean, you guys stole a lot of my players, which is good. I mean, the fish right on cue. I've been hyping up Kyle Lewis all season. I could tell right away he's a stud. He looks like Brandon Hill's, playing linebacker. He's kind of smaller, but he is so fast. He just, he's, what you said, he's, always on the ball. He's amazing.
He wears Brandon Hill's number 9 and everything.
Yeah, exactly. He literally looks like he's awesome. He's super undersized, but he's so fast. He just, and Rasheem Biles has been, I love him. He's been literally giving a lot of pass rush for us. Him and Lewis have been the 2 best players on the defense. Lewis, Biles, and Donnie have been the best players on the defense so far. They've been amazing. Biles and Lewis have been so fun to watch, how they're fast they are. Cruz Brookins is, he's been great. The hometown kid from Steel Valley. Paris 4 went to Steel Valley. They produced some good safeties. But I mean, I don't really have that much to say. You guys kind of took it. You guys kind of took all the players I want to talk about, but we kind of already have anyways. But you guys nailed it. We have some standouts on this team. I want to see some more pass rush because we've been spoiled with Charlie Partridge the last few years. So,
Tone, I know you like a couple March Madisons ago, you really liked Mike Miles, but what about Rasheem Biles?
Oh, he's the man. He's the man. Especially since he's on Pitt. Like Mike Miles was unfortunately on TCU, not on Pitt.
Rasheem
So
Biles.
yeah.
Biles.
I think
So,
the one thing I want to say is like the transfer portal. I know a lot of people like to say a lot about it, but if we didn't have some guys go out, we wouldn't have seen these guys kind of step into their roles. Like if Solomon DeShields was still here, like who knows if these guys beat out Shields in camp. And like the DNs, I know like could we have used like some more experience on the ends? But I think you have guys like you probably don't get Nate Matlack if people don't transfer out, and you probably don't get some of these other guys if other guys don't stay. And I think you see a lot of these guys like impact transfers when they go to other teams, but I think it's underappreciated what guys that kind of step into a new role at the team that someone transfer out at and taking advantage of their opportunities is what the transfer portal kind of benefits a team like Pitt, where they're not going to be buying that many people in the portal, but you're going to have some guys get increased opportunities that can show what they can do at the Power 4 level.
yeah, I think another guy I kind of want to bring up is I like what I've seen from Jimmy Scott. I think he's been actually pretty good, like rushing the passer. He had the big sack in the WVU game, and he had a really good. I thought he did a good game the first game as well against Kent State. Like I really liked what I've seen from him. But I just Solomon DeShields was a really good player, but linebacker we are so set. You know, we have George, Lewis, Biles, Lovelace, Key Thompson. Like we're not really missing DeShields much, but I think we could actually probably use Dayon Hayes. But overall, it's fine. So, all right, let's talk about the Pope, man. You are a star right now. Overall, like, how do you think the student section has done the first 4 games?
I mean, I think there's always room for improvement. I mean, I've been reaching out to a lot of players to see if they have any like suggestions. I think Jake Overman has been great. Met him in class last year. He's been good with ideas. The Breadman, Jasir Whittington, it's a big Pope guy. But I mean, I think the unfortunate thing about like the student section is it's all going to be backed on winning. Think Pitt needs to keep winning for people to become invested and stay till the end. It sucks that the student section emptied out after Youngstown State, but it's really hard to kind of keep people there when it's not a competitive game. And it was really hot. But I mean, I think once we get into ACC play, I think we always get good turnouts for those Thursday night games. And I think if Pitt keeps winning, the people will come. And I think the environment that like I said before, the environment with like the players coming over and kind of keeping the students involved is like been a very underrated part of the season. I know like the zoo has a really good relationship with the players, and I think as long as we keep that growing with the football fans, I think that'll help improve attendance as well.
Yeah, you are right. Like sometimes I just assumed like I had superpowers and the zoo just like became really awesome again, but it does help when, 2 years ago we made the tournament. Last year we had a few NBA players and we got super close, so the winning part does help. So I mean, obviously, I'm graduated now. I feel like I was probably the most like known. I mean, I'm not gonna be cocky. It probably was like the most like known student fan the last 2 years. Ian or Pitt Pope II. Do you feel like you've kind of like gotten like you have that role now of like the most known student fan now? Like, do you feel the pressure?
I mean, I think there's like, I don't know if I'd say it's pressure. I think like when I work at Mad Mex, like there's people that like recognize me. And like I think it's cool that like I feel like a lot of these SEC schools have fans that are super diehard. Like Georgia has those guys that wear like the spikes, and like you have these guys that really are super fans of teams. And I think Pitt has people that show up, but I think we need more of like that SEC fandom. And I think that's just what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get people excited. I'm trying to get people to kind of care about Pitt sports as much as I do. Sometimes I'm not as angry as Duey is, like saying we have to lock people in there. And I'm not yelling at students, but I think I'm trying to improve Pitt's fandom and kind of give people something to grab onto. I think there's a lot of old people that have like come up and they want pictures with the Pope. that's a very viral thing in some Facebook groups. But I'm just trying to do my part. I want Pitt to become more of a national sport like city, and I'm just trying to do my part to get us there.
Personally, I'm super impressed by your work. I think being a Panther Pit leader is honestly maybe harder than being an Oakland Zoo leader because like the zoo, like you could tell like who's in the front row and like who's like the leaders. Panther Pit, it's hard because there's so many people. And man, you've made a mark that you are the man. And it's super. I'm really like happy for you, man. Like you're a star right now. I'll be cheering you on. It's awesome seeing a leader of the Panther Pit, and that's what you are. And you've done a hell of a job so far. And it's gonna be an awesome rest of the season for you, Ian. You're the man. Keep it going.
Thank you, Dewey. I think we've kind of had a whole student section revival. I mean, I talked about this, I think, in the last episode, that UCF game. Crazy ending, no one there. And I just think, like, I want to get Pitt out of, like, football back to, like, I hate the attendance talk. I hate all that. We're winning games. It doesn't matter. But I think the students are going to bring alumni back, and the student base now are the alumni that are going to fill the stadium later. And I think, like, us building a strong connection with the students now are going to keep people coming back and eventually filling the stadium that's bigger than most college stadiums.
So, Tone the Fish, do you have any thoughts about what the student section, the first 4 games?
I mean, I thought it was good, especially during the backyard brawl. I thought it was good. Like people, the thing that I really like to see is that people did not leave after Sweet Caroline for the WVU game because I was afraid that might happen, and it didn't. So that was good. I feel like it's been good. I feel like the noise level could be maybe a bit better at times. I understand it because like when the team's like in a lull, like during WVU when they scored like 17 unanswered points, like after we went up 24-17, I get it, but I think there is room for improvement. But no, I think it's been good overall. I agree with everything Ian said about students are going to bring alumni to the stands, and then those students are also going to be the alumni that fill the stands later. So, yeah, but I think it's been pretty good over the first 4 games.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of want to second Dewey's sort of assertion that being a Panther Pit leader is probably a lot more difficult than leading the Oakland Zoo. Just because, like, the Zoo back in the mid to late 2000s, early 20s, it was, like, up there with the Cameron Crazies and Kansas' student section in Allen Fieldhouse for, like, the best student section in basketball, in college basketball. It was, in my opinion, the best student section in college basketball. It was like that very consistently. It had that reputation. Pitt basketball had some rough years. The students went away. But when we went back to prominence, things started to get back up again, and I think we're back there again. It's like the Oakland Zoo has that national reputation that the Panther Pit really doesn't. And I feel like that's what makes it difficult to bring people to those games and get them engaged for the whole game. And also the fact that, the Oakland Zoo, you're standing right there. You have an impact on the game. You're right next to the court. You're making noise. What you're doing is like that Miami game from a couple of years back. Like, I truly think that the Oakland Zoo made an impact in that game, and it has the potential to do that. Panther Pit, it's like tougher because you're on one side of the field. If the other team has the ball in the red zone on the other side of the field, you can make all the noise you want. But the reality is, like, some people aren't going to be making noise because they're like, is this really making an impact? You know what I mean? So that's kind of the disconnect there that makes it a lot more difficult to actually have people engaged in the Panther Pit. So I think that the fact that we do have people staying for the whole game, I mean, it was West Virginia, right? But I think props to you, Ian, for doing your best to keep people there, keep them engaged, and I can't wait to see what else you have in store for the rest of the year.
So, yeah, let's, wrap up this episode. Sucks. Tim had some connection issues. I think we'll probably have another podcast, like maybe after the Syracuse game. So maybe give some predictions for the next. It's kind of hard because we want to see what happens after the North Carolina game, but just talk about the next 3 games, which are all winnable.
Yeah, so I guess UNC, I think we should win that. I guess you want me to just give like a win-loss prediction?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So yeah, UNC, we should win that game, even though we're on the road. Like I said, Jim, you put up 70 on them. I'm hoping we score at least 50. That defense is just not good. So I think we should beat UNC, and then we have Cal, right?
Yep.
I think we should win that game as well. I don't think Cal is that good, right?
Only a good
They're
running
solid.
back.
Yeah. I guess they're okay, but yeah, I think we're at home. We should beat Cal.
Should be a night game.
ESPN is predicting us to have a 67% chance to win, so I like that. And then Syracuse, you said before SMU?
Yeah.
Okay. Syracuse is tough because I think it's a Thursday night game, but I don't know. I'm gonna predict 3 Pitt wins. I think we can get it done. ESPN's predicting us to have a higher win probability in all 3 of those games. So I think we get it done. We're 7-0 going into SMU.
I mean, we should be favored in all these games. Starting with UNC, it's going to be really high scoring as it was when they played JMU. Like, I'm probably going to go with like 56-35 or something like that. Like, very high scoring just because our offense is super good and both defenses are kind of lackluster. I am kind of worried that if UNC's offense can score more than us, because like if our defense has a bad game, there's potential there that we could just get into a shootout and get shot out. But at the same time, our offense is just so good where I don't see that happening. So I think we're going to pull that one out. Cal, I'm not super worried about them either. Like, they started off 3-0. It was really awesome to see. I love their Twitter, but the reality is they're not going to seize the means of production from us, where I think we're going to take that one down. Their offense looked pretty terrible against FSU. I don't really know how good they're going to be able to coming in after, like, they have a bye week this week, and then they're playing Miami next week. So after a game like that, maybe if they beat Miami, then maybe watch out. But the reality is I don't see that happening, and I don't see them beating us either. And then the Syracuse game, right? I agree with you, Tony. That's where it gets tricky. Thursday night, Kyle McCord. We'll see what happens there. They lost to Stanford, and I don't think Stanford's very good. And this is kind of too far out. I'm not going to make a solid prediction for this game because it's kind of too far out. But I think this is the one that we're at most risk in these next 3 games coming up.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think you guys covered it pretty well. I think North Carolina, it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be high scoring. Definitely take the over. Cal, I think they're very run dependent. So, I mean, it's going to be another Narduzzi special. We're going to stack the box, put our corners on islands, see how that goes. But I think the corners are getting better every week, so I'm not super worried about that. And then the Thursday against Syracuse, Pitt hasn't, I'm looking back at some old schedules. I don't think Pitt has lost a Thursday night game since 2017. It's also,
Sounds right.
it's Larry Fitzgerald's like day, like he's going to be at the game.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm going to predict, like, Coda Mumfield has, like, 150 yards. Like, some receiver's going to, like, go crazy. And, I don't know, we always get good attendance on Thursday nights. They're always electric. You got a night game. I also think from everything I've seen, I think Cal's going to at least be a 3:30, probably a night game just based on the travel and the body clock. So having 2 night games back-to-back, I think, will be really good for the student section and, like, the alumni. I think a lot of people prefer night games to come to. So I think we're going to have good environments for those 2 home games, and I'm predicting we're going to go 3-0 and be 7-0 looking at SMU, who I don't think is very good either.
Yeah, you are right. The last time we have lost a Thursday night game was actually against North Carolina. The Fish probably remembers we lost to like a 1-7 UNC team, and I remember Quadri Henderson like fumbled at the goal line, so it was pretty embarrassing. That game was terrible. And that was the year we beat Miami with Kenny, and we could have been bowl eligible that year if we didn't screw up that game. But yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good against North Carolina. I feel like we match up pretty well. I think we're gonna put up a ton of points. It's gonna be a huge game, shootout, like you guys said. Cal, they just lost to Florida State. I mean, they are a solid team, but like, I'm not really worried. I don't mean they only have like a dynamic quarterback or anything, and I don't even think Ott's been that great this year. And hopefully it's pretty cold that day, and hopefully they have some turbulence on that 5-hour flight. I think Pitt will win that game. I'm kind of nervous about Syracuse. I just feel like Pitt always loses games at home. Like, I don't know, like, Narduzzi's done super well against Syracuse in his time. He's only lost to them twice. I'm going to go 3 Pitt wins, but I'm a little nervous about the 2 home games. I feel like in Narduzzi's tenure, we've always lost games at home that we shouldn't. And we've been saying the whole episode, like, hopefully one of these games, like, maybe it's one of these games we don't come back. We just play, like, crap the whole game. Like, it could happen, but I'm gonna say 3-0, but I'm cautiously optimistic. How about that? So this was a fun episode. It was very hectic with Tim's connection. Planning on maybe having one after the Syracuse game, end of October. So it was really fun. hopefully you enjoy these games, and Pitt wins another 3 more games, and we're 7-0. That's crazy. I don't even believe it. So thanks so much for coming on, guys, and as always, hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
Out of Pitt.